All right, y'all. I just wanted to make a video on why I'm selling my AR630 version 2. Now, I'm sure some of you are like mind blown that somebody would be doing that. It's one of the hottest pressure washers on the market, if not the hottest pressure washer on the market. You can hardly get the thing. I pre-ordered it from Clean Garage. I've had it, I don't know, 3 or 4 months at this point, and it's a great pressure washer, but I came from a dual setup with Karcher K1700s. And that setup would do 2.9 GPM at 2000 PSI. So it's a pretty big change. It's, I'm losing a good bit of flow. I mean, and you're talking from 2.3 to 2.9, that's zero point 0.6 GPM, I mean, you're bouncing all the way down to like 1.7, if you take that same step backwards. And so it would be like going from a single Karcher K1700 to AR630 V2 or an Active 2.3. So it's a really big jump and it's noticeable. And also, I'm really missing that pressure. I like to use my setup to clean my concrete, wash my house. I don't keep a gas pressure washer, but I like to keep my house clean too. And so, missing that pressure, the 1200 PSI that the AR630 V2 caps out at, it just isn't going to cut it to clean concrete. I tried getting a surface cleaner with the proper orifice, and it takes forever. You got to go super slow. It'll break your back. So I went ahead and built a custom AR unit, 240 volt, 20 amp. This is a 5 horsepower motor. Now, 5 horsepower motor can draw more than 20 amps, but I dialed that amperage back with the unloader valve. I have an electrical background, so I'm very comfortable changing electrical outlets, wiring up electrical things. I built the entire TSS system in this with a general pump flow switch, and I went with a flow switch so that the pump will not run when there's not water available. So that's a risk that a lot of pressure washers have, is they can continue to run without water flowing, and that'll burn your pump up quick. And this machine cannot do that. So, and then I put an Eaton contactor in there, a 50 amp rated contactor, to turn the motor on and off when it detects water flow. So I pull the trigger, water starts flowing, the pump turns on, and then when I let off the trigger, water stops, it turns off. So it's a complete TSS system that I built myself. It's using a AR1272A motor, a 5 horsepower motor. I think it's rated at 23 amps. I'm using an AR unloader valve and an AR commercial pump that is rated at 3.5 gallons per minute and 2,500 PSI. Now, I don't quite get that 2,500 PSI because that does go over the 20 amps. I have it limited at 2150. And that keeps my amperage right between 19 and 20 when I'm maxing out my PSI. And it's working flawlessly. I'm a little over a month in. It took me a long time to put this together, to figure out all the pieces and parts I needed. I think I went through 5 different iterations of that total stop system. But the AR630 is a great pressure washer. But anyway, so let me get to it. So what I'm going to do today, I've got these 2 foam cannons set up here. They both have 1 ounce of Armor Detail Supply Shampoo Plus in there, which I have sitting right next to me. And then it's deionized water in each one of them. So the water is perfectly the same between the 2 of them. There's no minerals to worry about. We're gonna get the best foam there. And they have the appropriate sized orifice for each machine. So I have a 1.7 for my 240 volt machine, and then a 1.4 for the AR630 V2. And so what I'm gonna do today, I'm gonna pre-wet the car just to create a similar situation. And then I'm gonna start a timer. I'm gonna foam on the car, let it dwell for 5 minutes, and then rinse it off. And then I'm gonna switch to the other pressure washer and do the same thing. And I just wanna show you the time difference. Now there's gonna be a 5-minute dwell in there, but the time it takes to foam on the car and the time it takes to rinse the car. And I actually haven't done this test before. I just know what I feel, that it goes a heck of a lot quicker, but we'll put it into video today. So we'll do a foam rinse, foam rinse, foam rinse, foam. And then I'm gonna wash the car, and y'all get the first glimpses of the update of the 1-week wash for the detail spray. And then I'll film some more on that and upload that later. But let's get to it. All right, so here's a quick overview of my setup. So I've got the AR630 V2 hooked up here. The red nozzle is a 4.5, the black is a 7, and then it's hooked up to this Miko Cox clone hose reel, and then it's a 100-foot 3/8 inch Blue Shield, not the Kevlar one, this is a one-wire hose, and then up there is my Big Daddy. So that's running off of a 20 amp 240 outlet. And so I built this whole box back here using an ABS machined box, and we got our on off switch up there. It's turned off currently, but it wouldn't matter if I turned it on because it's got a flow switch, not a pressure switch. So extra safety. I've had that happen before where a pressure washer is burned up because it sat there with everything turned off. So we're going to go ahead and get to the wash. All right, so I'm not normally a pre-rinse kind of guy, but I'm going to do that just so we have a similar situation on the dwell time, so they're both going on a wet car. And plus we can see the pre-wash hydrophobics here on the hood. I'm actually going to bring you in a little closer so that you can see the whole hood nice and close. We'll go through and rinse it. All right, here we go. So I'm going to hit it with the Kiev nozzle here real quick just to get a little more flooding behavior. Let me get right on. I'm going to get right on the Fine Lab because I think I'm doing it a disservice from doing it from the other side. So, all right, let's get to rinsing the whole car. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and foam this on, and I'm gonna start a timer on my watch for 5 minutes to let it dwell, and then I'm gonna come back and rinse it off. So we're gonna start all the way over here and work our way back. Got the knob cranked up, the max foam. Get dialed in here. All right, here we go. Max foam. So I'm intentionally making this a little weak because I also want to see what soaps are going to reject it on the hood. I'm not seeing a whole lot, but I am seeing hot coats breaking through a little bit. Hey Siri, start a timer for 5 minutes.
minutes counting down.
All right, so hot coat's breaking through a little bit. Envy's breaking through a little bit. Garage Therapy is a little bit too, but these further up ones are not. I mean, the less hydrophobic ones are not. 584 is definitely not. Nanoskin definitely isn't. Griots isn't. The Fine Lab is a little bit. The 582 is a little bit. The Resist is breaking through pretty good, and the Hot Coat's breaking through pretty good. But all right. All right, real quick while that's dwelling, I'm going to go around the car and just see what it looks like on these panels. I know we're in the sunlight. This is going to dry up a little bit, but it's not a big deal. Actually, I'll bring you back here. We've got 2 minutes left on the dwell, so I'm going to carry you around. All right, so you can see on the left is Fine Lab, on the right is ADS. And on the glass, the ADS is rejecting soap way more. So that's noticeable. This side is really starting to dry out, but that's why I'm using a pH neutral soap. So if we get on the back, we got Garage Therapy, that is much less soap. And then Griots has a fair amount. And then we got Tech 584, that has a fair amount. 582 has a fair amount. Seems like maybe a little less on 582, but anyway. So we got 1 minute left to rinse. All right, timer's up. I went a little extra there, probably about 10-15 seconds. All right, let's hook the other pressure washer up and we'll foam it on. Letting the pressure out the line. I got the water turned off on the inlet. All right, I'm gonna take you in and just show you that I got pressure built up in the new one. Everything's hooked up. Ready to go. All right. All right, soap's on. One thing you have to account for, now I put the same amount of soap in these two, but that actually, when you get into a higher flow pressure washer, it actually draws less from the container. So I'll bring the other one over here and show you. See how much less soap I used with the high flow pressure washer? So That's why it's less foamy. All right, so we've got about 4 minutes left. So if I look at the hood here, I mean, the same thing. These top ones are just clean. You know, it's just rejecting the soap right off. We got a little bit over here from Fine Lab. Griot's isn't, Nanoskin definitely isn't. Armor is, 582 is, 584 is not. So and so another thing that saves time in this scenario is because it's got so much flow, so much pressure, you can kind of just go to 4 corners on the car, stand back, and you don't have to make those sweeping movements. Like you can just, it's like you're painting the car. Whereas the AR630, you kind of got to keep moving with it. The wind grabs it much more, the soap and in the air and everything. So you just need to account for putting more soap in your container because it's going to draw slower. So that's why PIR is so important. I'll do a video on that too, comparing the PIR of a low flow and a high flow. Got about a minute left. Pretty dried out over here. Did the same thing on the back. But again, I wanted to keep the soap pretty thin too, just so we could see how it breaks up on the hood, and you can very much see it here. 584, not so much. 582 definitely did. So I think it's really reflective of the hydrophobics. And again, hot coat is blowing me away. All right, let's get to rinsing. It's got to be faster, right? It's got to be faster. I mean, I got a little bit left on here, but... All right, let's bring you in and you can see some hydrophobics. All right, so you can clearly see the tape lines. You can see the Nanoskin is barely even sheeting. Griot's is struggling to sheet. Fine Lab is sheeting pretty well. There's a little struggle in the ADS. All right, I would say hot coat and Envy for sure, top on hydrophobics. Garage Therapy is right behind it. And we got Resist over there. Let's see. Just watch them sheet. So it looks like the Griot's is doing the best. Fine Lab's catching up. Actually, Fine Lab's probably going to sheet the fastest. Nanoskin's not doing great. I think the Nanoskin's in last. The ADS is sheeting pretty well here. I mean, it's not, and I shouldn't say well, it's sheeting, but it's probably going to be in second to last as far as hydrophobics after this wash. .582 is looking freaking good. I think after the wash, I think durability-wise, .582 is up there. Let me get the Keeve nozzle on. And so I'm just going to slowly flood from bottom to top. Yeah, Envy and hot coat are still the tops, but Garage Therapy is right behind it. I mean, I think 582. I think we're in a tight race between Garage Therapy and 582. Man, I'm not gonna lie. 582 standing tall over there. I'm gonna say Envy and Hot Coat are like, you can't even hardly tell a difference. 582 is right there, and Garage Therapy is right there. Those all three, like, you might as well call them a tie on hydrophobics. Resist is right behind, Fine Labs behind, Garage Therapy behind that. .584 is next, Amplifies after that. Yeah, Amplifies second to last, Nanoskin's in last. So Nanoskin is getting the boot for sure. It ain't it. But. All right, let me dry this thing off. So today we got the luxury microfiber sucker. This actually has been a phenomenal towel. This is my oldest towel. It has outlasted multiple Rag Company liquidators. It's a really good towel. So. Just the glide on the wipe off, everything is just so good here. So good. No toppers at all, for obvious reasons. I almost think I didn't rinse this side. I think I didn't rinse that side. It's got a bunch of soap drying up. And the nice thing about Shampoo Plus is you can about treat it like a rinseless. You can just wipe it right off and it's fine. But I'm going to rinse it anyway. I don't want to leave any potential residue on the surface back there to cloud the results. So. Just to clarify, I would not use Shampoo Plus as a rinseless, but it's a high quality soap. High quality soaps are really close to a rinseless. They can emulsify, they can encapsulate in your bucket, they can, have safe surfactants that aren't going to stain your surface if you don't fully rinse them off. If they get in a nook and cranny, all the things, they don't reactivate, and Shampoo Plus is one of those things. All right, sorry about that. I had to take a phone call. So what I was talking about, the quality of the surfactants in the soap matter. Like, that's part of it, I mean, you hear these companies talk about how soap's just an ancient technology, but it's not. I mean, a good rinseless and a good soap are really actually pretty similar. I just had Shampoo Plus completely dried over here for like 10 minutes. And it wiped off slick, just like if it was a rinseless. So I just came back and rinsed over it because I, don't want to leave any residue, any potential, masking of what products are here. But, yeah, so soap is not just a soap. And, you don't really even see anybody testing that. The soaps that are safe to be left on the surface and wiped off. or that need to be reactivated to wipe off, or the soaps that actually encapsulate the dirt in your bucket and, make for a safer wash. So, or the soaps that, let the dirt be released from your wash pad every time you put it in the bucket. Some soaps I've used that just clean poorly, some cherry flavored ones, they just, your wash pad comes out dirty and it just doesn't clean worth a crap. And, this one, like, I pre-washed this with a pH neutral. It's been a week, but I mean, there was dirt on it on a couple spots. And I one dunk in the wash bucket and it's clean. So, not all soap is soap. Not all pH neutrals are created equal, so. All right. So I'm not going to go crazy. This is DI water. It's spot free. So, if I leave a little bit on the surface, it's not going to hurt anybody. All right, y'all. Just to recap this video, running through the new pressure washer, we gained about 27 seconds on the rinse off, only 1 second, maybe 2 on the foam. I think I could have done better on the second foam. So we'll call it 30 seconds between a foam and a rinse. And you're going to do that twice a car. So we could call it a minute total per wash that you're saving with that 3.5 gallons per minute. There's other value to me, like I talked about in the intro. I'm going from 1200 psi to 2100 psi, so I can clean concrete much more effectively. The increase in flow allows me to soft wash my house from the ground using a foam cannon. And so if that's something you're interested in, you don't want to use pressure when you're cleaning a house. You definitely want to use chemicals. So if that's something you want me to make a video for, drop a comment. But yeah, so it wasn't, wasn't a huge bit, but the cost wasn't a huge difference either. I paid about 1,100 after shipping and taxes for the AR630 back in June, and then I've got about 1,350 into the new one. Between the motor was 600, the pump was just under 400, the unloader valve, the flow switch, and the contactor for the electrical were all $100 a piece. The box that the contactor went in, that was 25. Now, you know, if I were to build this for somebody, I mean, I've got to count for my time and also my R&D time. I've got 50 plus hours of R&D into this. And I'm still doing that every day is more research just to see what's going to hold up, see if anything's going to break. There's a lot of things that I did in that soldering and electrical connections that you need a decent amount of knowledge to do safely. Plus, I don't know that I need to count this into the cost of the pressure washer, but there was another $200 in electrical supplies just to set up the outlet. Now I sized the breaker to the wire in the wall, so that's why I was limited to 20 amps. It's a very short run. I could have got away with more, but I didn't want to push it. So, like I said, I've got the unloader limited to 2100 psi. That keeps me just under 20 amps continuous. It spikes above just for a quick bit, but that's not going to trip the breaker. And it works great. It's a little less responsive than the AR630, but not by much. And I'm super happy with it. And again, the flow switch is a safer option. You're not going to, if you lose inlet water, if your inlet water hose breaks, I've had that happen. I've had my inlet water hose actually blow apart on me, and it actually burned up the pump of my pressure washer. Because I didn't know what happened, and I just kept going, and it started sputtering, and I didn't know what was going on. And then when I let off the trigger, the pump was just sitting there running because it couldn't make pressure because it didn't have enough water. And so it took me a bit to figure out what was going on and shut it off. But by that time, it had burned the pump up. The water just smelled horrible, and I used it for a while. It made some nasty sounds. And this was on a pressure washer a while back, but I ended up having to replace that pump. So anyway, so moving on. So as far as the foaming goes, I brought the two cannons in here just so you can see them. This was the high flow. This was the AR630. And so, looking back here, 500 mils in this one, and just a hair under 500 mils on this one. But this one foamed the car twice. This one was once. So, that's noticeable. So I started at 750. So if I look at, from 500, so I had 250 and this is actually used less. This is like 200 used, and this is 250 used. So you could pretty much use twice as much soap in the high flow is my point. I should have used 2 ounces in here, 1 ounce in here to get the same amount of foam level. You know, so anyway, that's what PIR is. I'll make another video about that in the future. But so about the products that I used in the pressure washer, just a little more. So it's a 4-pole induction motor from AR North America. That's a 240 volt single phase, 1700 RPM. It's rated at 23 amps. I have it dialed back to 20, so it's overbuilt there. The contactor is the same way. The contactor is rated at 50 amps. It's only drawn 20. It'll spike up a little bit above that. But I just wanted everything to be overbuilt. The pump's rated at 2,500. It's coming down to 2,100. These are all commercial products, so they should be overbuilt by default. But I've got even more safety margin in there. I think the only thing I would have done different, because I run DI water through it, I would have got a nickel-plated pump. It wouldn't have been that much more. So if I ever, do it again in the future, I'd get a nickel-plated pump. If anybody's interested in, but you're local to me and you're interested in me building you one, hit me up, shoot me an email. It's in my channel description. We can work it out, but I can help you along with it a little bit. But it's you gotta have a decent electrical knowledge to do it, and it's, I don't know. I think I've got 15 hours into building it just alone. Between aligning the pump properly to the motor, and got to use Loctite on specific bolts, soldering, things like that. But so anyway, getting back to the detail sprays. So I did some pre-wash hydrophobics, washed it. I actually washed it 4 times. I did that off camera, just to keep the video a little shorter. But they all lined up the same before and after. So Envy and Hot Coat are doing amazing. Their hydrophobics are amazing. Super tight, round water beads. Garage Therapy isn't too far behind, but it is behind, and it's noticeable. These two are pretty close, 582 and Garage Therapy. They're both doing pretty good, so I'm impressed with that. These two are pretty close, Fine Lab and Resist. Then, we get down into Griots is a little bit behind. Then there's a pretty big jump to ADS and 584, but these are really close in their hydrophobics today. And then we get down to Nanoskin, which is more of a sheeter, really, which, that has its place. People that want sheeting, water spot prevention, that's got its place. So it's just a less hydrophobic product. But, if we run through the price of these again, Hot Coat being 50, this being 33, I think is the MSRP, or 35, something like that, for the 584. And then this is 85. I think it was 65 for the Garage Therapy. I know I'm jumping around here. But the Griots is a little more expensive. These two are the same price. This is a $50. This is a $50. This was a $40. So, yeah, lots of good products. I mean, pretty much everything here has its place. I think the difference between these two, it's $10 more here for the 584, but it was a little slicker on application. So take from that what you will, but everything's my opinion here. Next week, I'm going to be doing a engine bay detail video. Actually got this to try, so I'm going to review that in it as well. This is the Easy Detail Go brush, and I think it'd be really good for like your suspension components and engine bays, where that rounded tip kind of lets you clean with the tip of it. Whereas your wheelbarrow brush, you really can't do anything with the tip of it because it's just got that nub on the end. So I think this will be good for that. So being able to get into those tight spaces, and then I'm going to see if I like this. This is the Work Stuff microfiber wheel brush. It's got a weird name. I can't remember what it is. I'll put it in the description. But I'm gonna see how I like this. I've been using more of the Easy Detail style brushes, but I wouldn't mind switching to microfiber. Just, it's much softer. I feel like it's got to be a lot less abrasive. And I'm gonna do a maintenance wheel cleaning on my X3 that I'm doing the coatings on the next coating update. So I'll have that video up there. I'm just waiting to get a little brake dust on it. I mean, the BMW M brakes will put a ton of dust, but the wheels are coated with the Detail Co. wheel coating. So let me know if you got any questions about anything in the comments. I'd be happy to help, but I'd love if you would like, comment, subscribe, share, ring the bell, all the things. I appreciate all the support. I can't even begin to describe it. My first real detailing video getting almost 3,000 views now. I really appreciate y'all, I guess is what I want to say. And I love that you want to hear what I want to say. And so I'm going to keep making them, but I'll talk to you soon.